so absolutely essential that we learn to raise up leaders. We've got to have men and women who can preach the gospel, who can take the message of Christ into the villages, into the cities and towns. And without leadership, this is impossible. In order to plant churches, you have to have leaders. And so we began to require that all of our churches have some kind of leadership training program. Anywhere you go in the world, people are complaining, where do we get workers? We need more workers. Well, workers aren't going to just appear from anywhere. We've got to train them ourselves. We've got to raise them up ourselves. And so we've got to learn how to see potential in people. See that there's so many people who are hungry, who are waiting to be used by God. If we can see the potential and draw that potential out of them by taking them through various training programs, equipping them, encouraging them, mentoring them, and then pushing them out into the deep, as it were, to begin to start their ministries. So important that we start leadership training, that we have ongoing long-term leadership training. So important that we learn to equip people and release them into ministry. You know, Jesus told us to go into all the world and make disciples. And those disciples, He raised them up and they became the apostles. And those apostles, according to Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 11, they began to equip the saints, and that the saints could do the work of the ministry. If we allow everything to be just on ourselves, we're never going to see the kind of multiplication, the kind of increase, the kind of exponential growth that we want to see. We have got to train leaders. We have got to equip them. We've got to release them into ministry. And again, when we're looking for people for laborers in the field, where everywhere we go, people are looking for workers. Well, where are those workers going to come from? They're not going to just fall out of the sky. You have to begin training those workers themselves. You have to have a plan. You have to have a system in place. You have to have some way in order to train and equip and release people into ministry. And this is how we're going to multiply. This is how we're going to get the job done. Even Moses in the days of old, you know, he learned to raise up 70 leaders and then to release them into ministry. David learned how to train his captains of thousands and captains of 500s and captains of 50s and captains of 10s. And so we too, in these days, we have got to learn how to train up leaders and to release them into ministry. Just recently, we've made it a requirement in all of our Victory churches right across the Philippines. Every pastor has to have some kind of leadership training program in place in their churches. They've got to have training for the new believers. They've got to have training for those that they're eyeing to be lay leaders. And then they've got to have training for those that they want to go into the full-time ministry. Ongoing, systematic, long-term training if we want to see God really do things great in the future. We have to train tomorrow's leaders today.
On this program, I'm giving you a sample of some of the tools that we use in Asia to train leaders. Now, we've made all of these available to you for free through our WMContinuum.com website. There's a whole lot of how-tos and other ideas that will stir you up to help you communicate the leadership gift that God has given you. Here's a couple of 100 leadership videos that you can access through WMContinuum.com. In Leaving a Legacy 2, we're going to talk about how to get refired to become effective during the most influential years of our life. Can you make me a cup of tea?
I can.
Mother and father, 90 heavens.
On the star itself.
Honey, are the grandkids coming over this weekend?
I don't think so.
Now it's time for the Tommy Schumacher Show, where old men dream new dreams. Now here's Tommy.
Howdy.
Welcome to the Tommy Schumacher Show, where old men dream new dreams. There's a lot of young people out there with a lot of dreams, but this show is for the old. We have a special guest tonight. His name is Al, and he's been dreaming and dreaming and dreaming. You're going to like him. Welcome, Al, to the Tommy Schumacher Show.
Thank you.
Welcome to where old men dream new dreams.
Wow, good to be here, Tommy.
You know, a lot of people think this is about a midlife crisis, but that's not what this show is about. Al, I want you to share with the audience here what your dream is all about.
Well, a few years ago, Tommy, we were in India riding on a bus, and I heard this sound behind us. It's like boom, 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 boom. And I said to the guys beside me, I don't know what that is, but I gotta have one. And we ride a little further, and up alongside the bus comes this beautiful Royal Enfield. That's my dream. I could see myself riding one of those things from that day on.
Al, I think I could see myself riding one of those things too.
Yeah.
I like that dream. And we are here to help that dream come alive for you.
All right.
Al, today we have the keys to your dream and the helmet that goes with it.
Wow, thank you.
You're welcome. Leanne, pull back the curtains on Al's dream.
My God, it's too good to be true. Oh, look at that. Oh.
Hey, watch the hair, the jacket, come on.
This didn't happen to me, and it'll probably never happen to you. But the Royal Enfield is for real. This bike is a legacy. Today, we're going to have some more fun with the old Royal Enfield. And I want to talk to you about how to shift from the quantity part of your life to the quality part. If you're in my age bracket, most of the quantity part has already gone by, and now we're looking forward to the years of our greatest influence. Some of our great exploits have already taken shape, and they're looking pretty good. Leaving a legacy doesn't happen by winning the lucky reality TV show. It requires focus, diligence, and resourcefulness, things that you have well developed through the quantity years of your life. Building a Royal Enfield is just a hobby. The real building we do is making disciples of Christ. To leave a legacy, you have to build inside the constraints of vision and principle. Those exploits that will outlive you and be retold again and again will be retold because they become lessons that others can learn from. So building whatever you build, the accomplishment embodies a lesson that will be passed on. And if some men's lives become lessons of what not to do, well, that's because they neglected the principles and the vision of Christ. To leave a legacy means that the people you've impacted will tell inspiring stories about your leadership throughout the next generations. Stories that will teach and inspire leaders into the future. I looked at a lot of pictures of Royal Enfields, but there's one classic look that I wanted to accomplish. The chrome all has to be in the right spots, and the paint has to represent the original design of the bike, yet be more outstanding in this modern day. So, the pearl white patch for the Royal Enfield name, and my favorite metallic burgundy with lots of clear coat to make it look wet. Once you know exactly what you want, you can set out to accomplish it. Dreams are for old men, and for some of us, it's time to dream more vividly than we've ever dreamt before. To shift from quantity to quality means we must have a clearer focus and a more purposeful use of our energy and resources. So in order to leave a legacy, the legacy must come into clear focus now. How are we going to communicate the things we know to the next generations? You can preach it to them, but they don't quite get it the same way you've got it. You have to illustrate it to them by your exploits. So be clear in your priorities. What is it you want your team to see you doing? What is it that you should be spending your time on? Because life is busy and I'm seldom at home, I really don't have time to rebuild another big vehicle, so I chose a motorbike. This project took every spare moment over the last year or so. I think I've accomplished more in my life by sheer diligence than by any other factor. Diligence will push you through the learning curve in the skills that you need to acquire. And I'm quite certain that in the quantity years of my life, I learned a new profession about one a year. We had to because Terry and I were alone in building this new ministry in Thailand. And I had to learn some new things to get this bike from 1,000 pieces spread across the living room floor to a bike that runs, and now runs well. Dilligence will also push projects through to completion. I don't think I've ever given up on a project. Even projects that appear to fail can be redeemed and turned into something beneficial through diligence. Don't slow down. You're in the quality years of your life now, and you can do more with one hand than those young guys can do with two. Because Royal Enfield never stopped production, I can still get all the parts I need for my 50s era bike. And because they're made in India, I can rebuild the complete bike for the price of a couple of Harley parts. Leaving a legacy requires great resourcefulness. I believe that everything I need for my God-given vision is within my reach right now. Many great ideas fail because of a lack of resources. But let's not say it was a lack of resources. Let's say it's a lack of resourcefulness. Now let me challenge you concerning resources during the quality part of your life. We have a lot of great leaders in our group, but you know, I'm the old guy, the pioneer, and the guy people want to hear from. The young guys in our team all have the same message and ministry mandate as I do, but when Terry and I speak up for the ministry, people respond much more readily. We represent the integrity and the longevity of the vision, but more than that, we can share the vision with such passion. But there's a warning that comes with this level of influence. Remember how you used to have to believe God to get the rent paid, and every little thing you needed you had to stretch your faith for? Well, now the house is probably paid for, and there's any number of cars in the driveway, and the garage is full of toys. But don't relax your faith. The ministry needs your faith to reach further and become more effective. You can do this. You're the senior leader who can mobilize the resources. And don't get lazy, but let's see some new initiative for some greater steps of faith. One of the most difficult yet imperative things you have to do is to delegate the quantity parts of the ministry to the guys you've raised up, and then leave it to them. Firstly, you have to allow them to lead the vision with their own ideas and abilities. Secondly, you got to guard against being drawn back into the quantity stuff. Of course, you can do it better and more effectively. And if you've done a good job at installing underleaders, it will appear that you have more time on your hands now. And thirdly, you don't have more time on your hands. You're more focused, diligent, and resourceful than ever before, and you have to let them see it. Show them what you're focused on and cast vision for the entire team to be involved. Let them be proud of you as the pioneering father, their leader, and inspire them to be thinking about the legacy that they will leave someday. Leaving a legacy won't happen without intentionally setting the plans and the purposes in place and making whatever changes are required to accomplish the things that will carry your legacy. Much of your story has already happened. Now you have to broadcast it. The only legacy you leave will be the one that's recorded in words, whether articles, books, audio, video, different kinds of media, or the stories that are so vivid in the minds of people that knew you that they tell it over and over because of the impact it had in their lives. Think about the tools that are available to you that you can use to carry your story into the next generations. Leave a legacy. Don't ever back down from pursuing and developing the leadership gift that God has given you. The church needs leaders. Jesus said, I will build my church and the gates of hell won't prevail against it, but he needs people that will stand up in our full potential to take that dominion that God has committed to us. So I want you to get a hold of Continuum Leadership Resources. There's things in there that'll help you keep your heart right, develop the faith that you need, learn the leadership skills that you need, and keep your future on track. Let's be diligent to develop our lives so that God can use you to the fullness of his potential. As every joint supplies, as every one of us does our part, Jesus will build his church as he promised. So I want to encourage you, know God, be strong, and do great exploits.